Hey, this is Rahul and how's it going everyone? Today we're going to show you how you can make your GoPro 6 footage look cinematic and also give you the review of this new FeiyuTech G5 gimbal. We've got another gimbal for comparison purposes, which is my old gimbal, the Zone Rider M. Now the GoPro Hero 6 has evolved as a camera and it has many modes which actually offer cinematic shooting. So the first thing I would like you to do is turn on the Pro Tune mode. If you go into the menu, you'll find the Pro Tune mode. If you turn it on, that's the first thing to do. Second thing, turn down your sharpness to medium because GoPro's in-camera sharpness pretty much sucks. So turn it down to medium or low and then turn the color profile to flat. This gives you more dynamic range and also allows you to apply LUTs and color grade your footage better in post, giving it that cinematic look. Second thing is shooting modes. You have to shoot in cinematic format, which is to take out the fisheye look which GoPro usually has, and for that GoPro has given you the new mode, which is the linear mode. Linear mode is not available in 4K, so the moment you turn it on to linear mode, your camera basically becomes a 2.7K camera instead of a 4K camera. So 2.7K linear mode goes up to 60 FPS, but you have 120 FPS slow motion in linear mode in 1080p. So you have those two modes. You also have lower frame rates. If you're shooting in cinematic, your normal motion will be at 24 FPS, and if you want to do something which you'll slow down in post, will be around 24 multiples of that, like 48, 96 or even up to 120, which you can slow down to post. So always shoot in 24 FPS for normal motion. For higher speed motion, you can shoot up to 48 and even up to 120 FPS. And always shoot in linear mode. These three things combined together will give you the smooth, slow cinematic footage, and you can slow it down in post and achieve great results like we achieved in this shot. If you want to achieve smooth motion, the GoPro Hero 6's internal stabilization is great, but it is not going to be enough. That is why you will need to invest in something like a gimbal. So in my hand I have two different types of gimbal. First of all, this is the FeiyuTech G5, which comes in a very nice neoprene case, and when you lose that casing, you get a very well built gimbal which is done in full aluminum. So this is a handheld type gimbal, whereas this on the other hand is a different type of a gimbal. This is a very small gimbal. The batteries are inside, so this can be mounted to several GoPro mounts and accessories. So if you're like an action filmmaker, you want to mount your GoPro with your gimbal to different places like bicycles, chest mounts while you're doing mountain biking and stuff like that, you want to go for something like this. It cannot be having this joystick controls. For that you need to buy a separate remote, which is $50 extra, but it comes with two sets of batteries. The internal battery life is small because obviously it is using smaller batteries. The positive of this gimbal is it is lighter and it is also gear mountable. The positive of this gimbal is it has a much bigger battery and it can be used with this joystick controls. You don't need to buy a separate remote like you do on the Zone Rider M. When I'm doing action shots, I like using this. While I'm doing cinematic shots, I like to go to the FeiyuTech G5. Now this has been provided to me by GearBest. The GearBest is a very big Chinese site and they've been sponsoring me with several equipment over the years, and they have got several other electronics, and they've got this new sale going on. I've left some links in the video description, so you can check that out. Now let's get back to the review. This is compatible with GoPro Hero 4, Hero 5 and even other action cameras if you want to use them with this. It's around $200 price tag, so I think it's fairly priced. Now mounting the gimbal is also pretty easy. We have provided some screws. You put the GoPro in there and then there is this bracket which is detachable. I wish it wasn't detachable because that is one of the negative things. So here's the FeiyuTech G5 with the GoPro Hero 6. Sliding the camera in and fixing it is pretty easy. You have to loosen these screws up and the GoPro slides in. On the back of the camera there is this very nice slot where you can put in this cable that they've provided. It's provided for Hero 4 as well as for Hero 5, and you can just take it this is the Hero 6, so it uses the USB-C type. It takes the battery, which is a 3000 milliamp hour battery, which is removable and replaceable. It takes that and it feeds the power directly into the camera, and that means even if your GoPro battery runs out, you can keep shooting. This is a very nice feature. It's there in the G5. Fully aluminum built, as I've said before, and up front you have, this is the joystick. This can move up and down as well as left and right. On the bottom you have this power button, below which you have this button which allows you to go a selfie mode, and behind this is a lock button, so while you're in pan follow mode you can lock it. I'll explain all the features and details later, but while I'm showing you, this is the USB so that you can charge the gimbal, and bottom you have this place where you can mount a tripod. Also, this entire bottom part is detachable and the battery comes out. Starting up the gimbal is pretty easy. All you have to do is hold on to the power button and the gimbal turns on. Right now the gimbal has turned on, and you can see that it doesn't require you to do any more adjustments. So right now this is in pan follow mode. This is a great mode for doing movements where you can look left or look right and the gimbal will follow you, but if you look up and down, the gimbal will keep facing forward. So that's that. Now you can change, if you press this button, it goes to selfie mode. The bottom button, if you press it, the gimbal is looking here, but if you press it, it goes back to selfie. If you leave it, it goes back up front. So if you're vlogging and you're showing up front and then you suddenly want to cut back to yourself, you hold the bottom button like this. I'll show you again. It comes back to selfie and it goes back. The power button also becomes the mode button when the gimbal is turned on. So if you press the mode button once, the gimbal is now in lock mode. So no matter whichever way you look, the gimbal is locked, as you can see. Press it twice and it now goes to a mode which is the free follow mode. So in free follow mode, even if you look up, the camera looks up, and if you look down, the camera looks down. So it has three modes. First is the pan follow mode, second is the lock mode, and third is the free follow mode, where the camera basically follows whatever gimbal movement that you'll do. On the opposite side, there is a lock button if you're in pan follow mode, but if you press this lock button, it is locked. So this is like a lock button. You can do this, pan follow, suddenly you press this button, the trigger lock, and it's locked. Then you leave it, it again goes back to pan follow. This is something that we've seen in DJI Osmo. Very nice, all three modes for you to do combination different shots. You can also do chip shots and crane shots by attaching a monopod. We have ridden a motorcycle and shot a second motorcycle which was under very high wind pressure, and up to speeds of 60 to 70 kilometers per hour. This gimbal was not only able to adjust to the movements, it was also able to resist wind speeds. So the motors are pretty strong. Now this is also a splash proof gimbal, which means if you're shooting near the beach, your GoPro Hero 6 is already waterproof without a casing, and if you splash water onto it, it'll still work. The Rider M, by the way, is not waterproof, so this is a huge advantage and a win for the FeiyuTech. FeiyuTech also does make a splash proof version of a wearable gimbal, so you can also take a look at FeiyuTech wearable gimbal. Now this gimbal has been, we've shot several things with it, like I said before, and we've seen some discrepancies and some problems with this which I'd like to talk about. For the build quality, the gimbal is great, but this thing comes off completely. I wish it was attached so that it wouldn't fall off and all that, which is there in the Rider M. So this mounting bracket is completely detachable. I don't like that. Secondly, when your gimbal is inside, when your GoPro is inside, the power button is restricted, so you cannot turn on the power button. So you have to detach the gimbal and reach in there and power the GoPro on, which is a negative. Another negative of this gimbal would be that if you're doing high speed pans, when you're following something fast like we do on high speed motorcycles, I've seen that the gimbal kind of tilts one direction, and then it may not be evident here, but in the footage what you have seen is it doesn't pan in a horizontal way. It kind of tilts the horizon and then catches back up. So that's something that we have not noticed with the Rider M. So that's one negative. But for slow cinematic shooting, that will never be a problem. For walking shots and all that, this problem will not be there, and it is a very smooth and nice gimbal. those are all the downsides that we could find even after testing with this gimbal for 1 month, and I'm proud to say that I'm actually keeping this for my own production shoots because I'm really happy with the results. And if you're shooting at nighttime, turn off the GoPro stabilization because that doesn't work in nighttime, but this being a gimbal obviously will work in day and night as well. So if you like this video, leave a like, and if your cinematic footage comes out better, then do thank me for that, and you can hit that subscribe button. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you very soon. The links for purchase of this GoPro gimbal as well as the other gimbals that I talked about will be in the video description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you very soon. This is Rahul. Goodbye.